Alright, I'm getting a little bit bored with street photography and where it's currently at the moment.
In my experience with street photography, I realized that most photos were bad.
Is street photography dead for me?
What's going on, everybody? You read the title, you saw the thumbnail, and you clicked on the video. Breaking news, street photography is not dead. Now, there's a lot of blogs, a lot of YouTube videos on this topic that street photography is dead or it's dying. Now, I don't know if these content creators, street photographers, mean what they say or they're just trying to whine and get a response. You know, a little clickbait action. And yes, sometimes I can act like the street police, but I'm here to tell you folks, street photography is not dead, nor is it dying. See, one of the cool things about street photography is when subjectivity and objectivity collide. And I feel like the landscape of street photography with social media, subjectivity and objectivity has never been higher than before. Now let me show you over the years where street photography is on Google Trends. All you gotta do is go to Google Trends and type in street photography and it'll show you the popularity. So let's take a look. Okay, so the furthest back I can go is in 2004 to present day. And this is the search term street photography. How many people have typed it into Google's search engine? And you can see here, 2012 was at its highest, 2012 and 2014. And that's the peak of really blogging and just Google Analytics. And I think a lot of that has to do with various blogs, Eric Kim, Petapixel. There's probably more that I'm not thinking of right now. And then 2014, Vivian Meyer's documentary put a new light on street photography, exposed it to new eyes, new people, and then it kind of goes downtrend. That's not to say it got less popular, it just got less searched on Google. You gotta take into account Instagram is peaking right about here, 2015, 2016. So it's still popular, just not showing on Google. Then it takes a dip during COVID, it climbs back up. I feel like there's a new batch of street photographers from COVID time. Now, to add to the subjectivity, objectivity component of street photography, I think subjectivity weighs a lot more than objectivity because street photography doesn't really have concrete rules per se on what makes a street photograph. I think most people follow these rules where as long as the photo's taken candidly, it's not manipulated in post with AI or removing or adding objects, and it's taken out on public space. It could be at the mall, it could be on the street, the zoo, while you're driving. I think for serious street photographers, as long as it's candid, no manipulating on the scene, in post, and you're good. Here's the thing. I wrote a blog in 2018 titled Street Photography Bubble. I'll have the link in the description box down below. You can go ahead and read that. It's a short read. It's not so much emphasizing that street photography is dead, but this is 2018 now, and I felt like we were kind of at its popularity, and that whatever goes up must come down. The housing crisis in 2008, it was a good reflection on that. And not everything keeps going up, 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 up. Now you may be wondering, what causes a bubble to burst? Well, oversaturation, when supply increases and demand decreases. So in other words, everyone is out making photographs. Everyone has a camera, an iPhone, but the need for photos weakens or decreases. And quite frankly, that's thanks to social media. I remember before Instagram was dominated by Reels, it was photographs. Whether it was documenting your day-to-day activities or uploading your best street photograph to share with your followers. You gotta think, Instagram has over 2 billion users. So I can see where other street photographers are saying that street photography is dead because of the images that they see on their feed. And you know what? Quite honestly, that doesn't mean that the genre is dead or dying. It just means that you need to do a better job curating who you follow. For example, for me, I purposely don't follow too many people. I follow friends and a few street photography accounts that I really admire or engage with. I try to keep my feed very clean. You can't really these days anyway because Instagram just feeds you sponsored ads or whatever you've been liking or watching, so it's hard in that regards. But if you're following like 2, 3, 4,000 people and they're predominantly street shooters, yeah, you're gonna see a lot of crap and you're gonna get discouraged, I'm sure. And if you don't know by now, I do a lot of reaction videos to contests, competitions, competitions on street photography, seeing the winning images, the finalist images, and a lot of times I am disappointed with the top 3 images, but I don't let it affect me on how I shoot or how I go about with this genre. I don't think the issue is the genre. I think the issue is with the photographer themselves. You know, it's easy to get discouraged to see winning images that are subpar or even below that and scratch your head and say, why was that the winning image? Why is this getting notoriety? Why is this getting all the likes, the follows on Instagram? And it's just so easy to go down that rabbit hole to compare yourself with others. Honestly, it's all about adjusting to your times. We are in a time where people are just sharing so much work on a daily basis. And it's really, like I mentioned earlier, up to you, your responsibility on how much you want to intake. Maybe follow less people. Maybe delete your Instagram app once a week out of the month. Do something so it doesn't affect you and that you lose joy in shooting out in the streets. I think the big benefit of the masters shooting back in the 80s, 70s, or any time before social media, before the internet, was that you wouldn't see any of their work unless it was published somewhere or they shared it with you directly. You know, it was a little bit more personal, a little bit more intimate. Whereas nowadays people are just throwing noodles on the wall and seeing what sticks, uploading this photo, uploading that photo, and see what people like. And that's totally cool. You have every right to do that. But just remember why you got into street photography. What is it about this genre that you enjoy? If you've been doing it for a while, of course your motive changes over time, but it's good to always ask yourself that question: why am I doing what I do? Why am I going out photographing strangers in the public? Is this something that I really enjoy, that really invigorates me, or is it just something that, I have nothing better to do and I just need to get out of my house? Also, a fairly new issue I would say is that you have these accounts on TikTok, Instagram with 1 million plus followers that go around asking strangers to take their portrait for them, and they call themselves street photographer. That's where I gotta put my police cap on and blow my whistle and say, bro, that's not street photography what you're doing. You're misinforming your followers on what you're doing, what genre you're shooting. Go pick up a Wintergram book, watch Fill the Frame, learn about street photography, learn about the history. Going up to strangers asking them to take their photo is not street photography. I'm sorry. And to be quite frank, those accounts have a lot of followers, a lot of engagement because it's easy to digest. And for the viewer that may be interested in doing something similar to that, it gets them to, get out, interact with people. And for the average viewer, like I said, it's easy to look at, it's easy to understand, whereas a traditional street photograph, especially on a small phone, it's hard to really absorb everything within that frame, especially in an era where we're just swiping up, swiping left, and just waiting for something to catch our eye and make us say, aha. And here's the thing, I haven't seen anybody talk about this or written blogs on this, but there seems to be 2 types of street photography styles. You have the more traditional look and feel, kind of leaning more like a documentary flavor. I would throw in there like a Winogrand, Meyer, Friedlander type of style. And then you have this fine art street photography where it looks pretty, more geometry, color sprinkled on there. So I'll say like a Saul Leiter or Harry Griii. Griii, is that how you say his name? I don't know. So when you have subjectivity and objectivity, and then you have more the traditional street photography and fine art street photography colliding, it could literally be civil war. Honestly, I'm a fan of both fine art street photography.
I'd find you here where they seat the sorry-ass losers.
And traditional street photography, but I tend to lean more on the documentary side. To me, that style just has more of a human connection, humanistic component to it. But like I said, I like both. And one more note before I forget it. I do believe there's been a wave of new street photographers, new street shooters entering the genre that really don't study the history or past master photographers at all. They learn everything on YouTube, Instagram, and just basically see what works, what gets a lot of follows, what gets a lot of attention, and just copycat that style in their hometown. And honestly, I'm not too worried about those type of photographers because having done this for 10 years, I've seen people come and go. Some talented, some not talented. And you know what? Interests come and go, interest fades. That's totally normal. But if you truly love this genre and you're in it for the long haul, you're not looking for any rewards or notoriety. You just go out there and shoot from your heart, from your instinct, because it feels good, because it feels right. Because honestly, there's no better feeling than documenting your hometown or while you're traveling. And knowing once you snap that shutter button, you just froze a piece of history, a piece of time. And honestly, I think the best part of street photography is that street photography doesn't discriminate and there's no privileges. You get what you put in. You actually got to put in the work. You actually got to go out with your camera and make it happen. You're not going to get images by sitting making YouTube videos like how I'm doing right now. Can we edit that out? I didn't mean to say that. Yeah, you got to go out and earn it and be prepared by having your camera in your hand or in your pocket, so when that opportunity is right in front of you, you're ready to snap that picture. And you may be saying to yourself, well, I'm not in New York, so I'm not gonna get the attention or notoriety, and the person that's shooting in New York or Tokyo or London, they're gonna grow a faster following because I'm in the middle of Buck, Hawaii. Guess what? I'm sure you guys said that to yourselves. I, on the other hand, I like a challenge. So being that street photography, especially when I started, was pretty much non-existent in Hawaii, I saw that as a unique opportunity to take on. Now it's a little different. There's a lot more people shooting in Honolulu, and honestly, that makes me happy. So what I'm basically saying is that you have the same opportunity as somebody that's shooting in the major street photography city. Everything takes time. You gotta hone in your craft. That takes a long time, and for me, honestly, it's an ongoing process. It's just the climate that we're living in, honestly. We want success immediately, but my advice is just to learn about the masters, put in the work, hone in your craft, and your consistency, commitment over time will show. So there you have it. Street photography is at its peak. It's super popular now, especially with the revival of film and film cameras. I don't see street photography slowing down anytime soon. Although I think when the bubble gets too big, it will eventually pop, and then the popularity will come down a little bit. When is that gonna happen? I don't know. Maybe people's interest will be more into AI and more of the surrealism. And even if we get to that point where street photography is non-existent, not popular, or what many of you guys like to say, street photography is dead, if it ever does die, I will still encourage you to still keep shooting, because 10, 20, 30 years from now, your photos of real people, real situations on the streets, in public setting is gonna be so valuable and a true joy for people to look at and reminisce on. So what do you think? Is street photography dead, or is it alive and well? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, like this video, share it, and you know that notification bell? Hit that, and every time I post new content or video, you'll be notified. Until then, keep shooting.